Hi guys, welcome back. I am sure you saw the title of this video. I am so excited. So today what I am doing is finally sitting down and reading the entire ACOTAR series. That's right, it is long overdue. I know this book has been talked about and hyped and loved and adored and hated for probably 2 years now, 3 years, I don't know, something like that. So I am definitely one of the last ones to the party for sure, but it is better late than never, as they say. So I am going to be sitting down and reading every single book in order, obviously starting with the first one, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I am so excited. I have these really beautiful hardcover editions. Then we have A Court of Mist and Fury, which I don't know basically anything about this. I know it is so talked about, but I have managed to avoid almost every single detail, spoiler, anything like that. I don't know a single thing, even down to the plot. I have no idea what this is about. I don't even know, are there dragons? It looks like, is that a dragon? And birds? And that looks like a spooky flower. Do flowers kill people? Oh, that's fun. Is there a masquerade ball? I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going into this completely blind and I could not be more excited. That is how I love going into books, with absolutely no knowledge of characters or plot or anything like that. So that is what I've managed to do, is completely stay away from it, and I am so excited. I actually cannot wait. It has taken me so long, and I think that the best thing to do right now is just to sit down and go for it. So I'm going to be starting with A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first book. Oh my goodness. My fiance put a little THC thing in there for me. You love. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, I'm certainly feeling high, but not on weed, just on excitement. I'm so excited. I can't stop. Okay. Let's get right into it. chat about Lucian, yeah, that's his name, and he's telling him how basically his family is the worst toxic little beings, and he's like, 3 of them went out to kill him, 1 came back, and then she asks, Lucian killed them? And he goes, I killed one, or he killed one, I killed the other. They crossed into my territory, and I was High Lord. So they killed 2 of Lucian's brothers, but also Lucian's family is like bonkers. Okay, interesting. Hello again. So I am making my way through. I'm on page 305. And Feyre has just gotten to the mountain, Undermountain, whatever they call it. And she has discovered little, oh my god, what's her name? It's like I'm looking at the words on the page, but I'm unable to see anything. Oh, Claire, there we go. So she's seen Claire's body now hanging quite brutally and violently and gives me the heebie-jeebies above what's her face's, whatever. What is her name again? Amarantha. Yeah, okay, say that 10 times fast. One of my biggest problems with making these videos, especially with fantasy books, is that often the characters have names that are not super common to me, and because I have to read them so much, and I'm usually trying to read pretty fast, I just kind of look at the first letter and then I make something up in my head, and then I know who that character is as they appear again and again and again. But the thing that I've made up in my head is never what their actual name is. So Amarantha, I've never read that entire word. I read Amma, and then I'm like, oh yeah, it's Amatha. And so I call her Amatha in my head. I just take out the ran. No. Anyways. So Feyre has gotten there. She sees Tam Tam just chilling. It's weird. But back to her discovering Claire. Claire had probably cried similarly. I had as good as tortured her myself. What had she made of all of this? All these fairy lusting after her blood and misery. I deserved this. Deserved whatever pain and suffering was in store, if only for what she had endured. But I would make it right somehow. Like, okay, Feyre. First of all, stop being such a little martyr. And like, Feyre just gets more and more annoying. Like, yeah, you did it. Like, yeah, you gave them Claire's name, and then she took her from her bed, she snatched her like a little kidnapper, and she tortured and murdered her. You didn't do that though. Are you partially to blame? Maybe. But if it's true and you really are this dumb fucking human, then just shut up and go home. I don't know. It's just so annoying and pathetic, and everything about her drives me crazy, and I'm really not a big fan of Feyre. Yeah, I'm gonna keep reading. Okay, so I got like a half a page down, a page over, and then Feyre's talking with Lucien in her little cell, and he's like, you shouldn't have come, you're not meant to be here. And then he goes like, do you understand what he sacrificed to get you out of here? And then she's like, well, I'm here now, don't bother telling me about my weak human flesh and my stupidity. I know all of that. I just had to come and tell him that I love him to see if it wasn't too late. Okay, once again, Feyre is annoying the little heck out of me with her weak human bullshit, and also Lucien just like jumping into like on board with this like Tamlin sacrificing all of them for her human flesh to go live out a good 40 more years before she dies of old age and consumption. I don't know, it just seems a little bit stupid. Also, I get that she's here because she loves him so much after her, 2-month stay, and she slept with him, right? One sexual escapade. But like, there's something weird about the way he is, and it's really giving just like controlling. Also, the fact that the time that she's been here, I'm I'm reading a little bit more now. Sorry, I'm literally reading this while I'm trying to explain why I hate it. But yeah, like he just stands next to Amarantha, like the little puppy, and just like broods. And yeah, there's the whole magic and maybe something's going on, but like, pull yourself together, bro. Stop being such a little bitch. I don't know. I don't like Tamlin. I'm calling it right now. Not my favorite. Personally, I don't think that him and Miss Feyre are gonna end up together. I hate Feyre. I think she's stupid, and I think she's moody, and I think she's a bunch of synonyms for stupid. But hopefully, fingers crossed actually on my part, because I think Feyre is gonna be like a pretty main character going forward in the books. I don't know any of this for sure. Like I said at the beginning, I went into this completely blind, but I'm guessing that Feyre is gonna play a decent part throughout at least this whole book and the next one, I'm guessing, and probably appearances, if not still the main character throughout, but I don't see her and Tamlin together. That's what I'm calling right now. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But then again, who knows? I just think it's stupid that they fell in love like that, and it was seemingly for no real reason, and I don't know. I'm just rambling now and I need to shut up. So I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna go finish the book, and that's that. Thank you. Hey, just a little update here. So I just finished, Feyre just went through her first like task, whatever they're calling it, and she's back in her cell, caked in mud, with her mangled arm, and what's his name? Rysand? Anyways, he comes in and offers her a bargain to fix her arm, which she eventually accepts. And as I finished that up, I was just kind of thinking randomly and so out of the blue, just that I think I would like this book a whole lot more, and this story, and especially this section now that she's in the mountain here with all the bad guys, if Feyre had like kind of someone on the inside, a friendship, a buddy that added one, like a little bit of comedic relief for the intensity of these situations, but then also, and I think what it would really do to have that friendship, that bond with somebody on the inside, is add an element of just hope and camaraderie and friendship, which would make all of Feyre's decisions seem a little bit less dumb, like maybe she had a little bit more reason. And I understand that a big portion of, or not portion, what's the word I'm looking for? Words are hard. Anyways, a big like whatever of this book is that we as readers are very blind, just like Feyre, and we're going through this journey with her, this world. And as Sarah J. Maas is building this world, us readers and Feyre are learning all about it, and there are all these potentials for tricks and twists and turns and bends, and that's great, and that's setting us up, I think, for what's going to be a lot of craziness in the coming books. And I do understand that, but I still wish that she had someone. And there's Alice, but she's not here like helping her out, and I think that would have been a really good thing to include, like whether that was Alice or somebody else that she had made a bond and friendship with, to come and be the person that's maybe sneaking her extra food, that's coming and helping her with all of her injuries afterwards, that's maybe finding out information as well and bringing it to her, so that the story just is
would then be filled with more hope and less just like me as a reader being so dumbfounded and kind of pissed off by Feyre and all of the choices that she's making, because as they say time and time again in the book, like, you're just a human, what are you gonna do? Like, there's a reason they're saying that, Feyre. Take a fucking hint. And kind of took away from the lack of intelligence and thinking that Feyre as a character puts forth throughout so far this entire book. God, that was a lot of work to speak that. Anyways, that's something that I was just thinking as I finished there, but I'm going to continue on. I'm so excited. Less than 100 pages left, and it's intense. I'm enjoying it. Despite all of my issues, my quaffs, my whatever, it's still a very entertaining and enjoyable book, and that is the point of books in my opinion. So yeah, big fan. Woo, let's continue.
Hi guys, so I have just finished the first book and I thought I would sit down and do a little book one debrief before moving forward to the next one. Okay, so I'm not gonna talk too much because I'm gonna save like majority of my opinions for the entire series at the end, but I did just want to come and do like a really quick little debrief. I really enjoyed this book. It was not at all what I was expecting. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I went into this not knowing anything about the story or the plot or anything like that really at all. So again, not at all what I was expecting. I will say the first like little scene that happened with Feyre killing the wolf was wonderful. I thought that was such an excellent way to start it and really like hook you into the world and the characters. That was phenomenal. I think that was just like the perfect way to start. Aside from that, there were definitely things that I did not like about this book, but all in all, it was really entertaining, really good. The biggest issue that I had with this is that I did not know this was a romantasy, which probably sounds so dumb because I'm sure everybody and their dog knows that, but I had no idea. I thought this was like a super high stakes fantasy world building, etc., etc. So I was a little bit taken aback by the romance and being so heavy. I also am not a fan at all of Tamlin right now, so I'm really hoping that in the next book he has a bit of a redemption arc or something. I will also say I'm not a big fan of Feyre. She's so annoying. She is such a dumb human. I think I mentioned this in one of the clips, but so many of her decisions and just like stupidness I think could have been forgiven if they had included kind of an inside character that knew about the realms and the fairies, the fae, whatever you call them, and had powers and knowledge that was helping her. I think that would have made such a difference in Feyre's likability, because as it was throughout this entire book, she was just doing things. Everyone was calling her a stupid human, and they had a right to, because she was literally like, I'm invincible, even though, I'm sorry, that was really weird, and I don't know why I just did that. I'm just like, I have to stop and think about my life for a second after that do. Anyways, Feyre was really annoying, and I think that if she had a friend on the inside that was kind of guiding her, helping her out, filling her with that hope as a reader, it would have made her a lot more likable and made the story make a lot more sense. As it stands though, it really was just Feyre being stupid and kind of annoying, but I can totally see her personality, and as the story progresses, how I will grow to like her. But for the first book, not a fan of Feyre, not a fan of Tamlin, was blown away at the amount of romance, but all in all, really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great hook at the very beginning that got me into the story, and I'm very excited to see how the world progresses. I think even after the first book, we still don't know like a ton about the world really, and the people or the fae, and how it's gonna kind of work with the humans and all of this stuff. And so I'm very excited to continue. I'm not going to give ratings right now because I need to sit on it a bit more, so that will all be at the very end of the video. But I just wanted to do a quick book one recap debrief before we go into A Court of Mist and Fury. Now, I will say I have heard that this book is people's favorite. Again, I don't know anything about the plot. I don't know what's going to happen in this, but I'm excited because if this is other people's favorites, I'm sure there is a reason. So I'm very, very stoked to get into this book. So let's go to that now. So Rise is just like, he's trying to help her. Like, is he a little bit of a prick? Yes. But Feyre's being quite annoying, and just like here on page 66, he goes, copy the alphabet and like until your letters are perfect, etc., etc. And then she just goes, I heard what you said. And then in her head she goes, prick, prick, prick. And it's just like, she's so ungrateful. Like, he doesn't have to do any of this. And I get that she doesn't want to be here, but at the same time, she really doesn't know what she wants. So why not take advantage of learning? I'd blocked it out, the shock on Tam's face, how easy it had been to take him off his feet, the humiliation of having my stupid terror so out in the open. It's just sad that she doesn't understand that that's not love. If you can't be who you are, if you can't show your terror and your fear and every other trauma and whatnot, if you can't show that and share that and be there for each other through that, even when it's not nice or fun or anything, that's not love. It's not a relationship. It's, I don't know, it's just sad. It's quite sad to me. Okay, so page 72 now, and first of all, so Rise is asking Feyre for help, and he's like, you can be the go-between between Tamlin so that we can join forces. And she just is like, he doesn't inform me of those things. To which Rise says, perhaps it's time he did, ... And like, yeah, why you literally, okay, I know that I have had my quaffs with Feyre and her being the foolish human and going into the Undermountain and thinking she can do things, but then she did. And even though she had an experimental amount of help and it wasn't really all that impressive, she still did it and has proved herself time and time again. So why is Tam being so weird unless he's secretly evil or just a controlling sexist freak? I don't know yet. But anyways, but then as Rise goes on, then he's like, she goes, what do you need? Whatever was tied to my reading and shielding, I'm guessing, ? To which Rise response is, you'll learn of that later. And then in her head she goes, I don't know why I bothered to ask. But like, fight for that. Like, why? I would not be taking anyone. Like, tell me everything. If this is a war and everyone's lives are at risk, like, just tell me all of the things and then we can make a plan together. God. Okay, anyway. Okay, page 74. Tamlin isn't your keeper. You know it. I'm his subject and he's my high lord. You are no one's subject. I went rigid at the flash of teeth, the smoke-like wings that flared out. I will say this once, and only once, Rysand purred, stalking the map on the wall. I have some coughs with the word purred still. Sounds weird, but you can be a pawn, be someone's reward, and spend the rest of your immortal life bowing and scraping and pretending you're less than him, than Aithen, than any of us. If you want to pick that road, then fine. A shame, but it's your choice. The shadow of wings rippled again. But I know you, more than you realize. I think, and I don't believe for one damn minute, that you're remotely fine with being a pretty trophy for someone who sat on his ass for nearly 50 years.
then sat on his ass while you were shredded apart. Rise. Okay, so she just got back to her court in Tamlin, and she looks around and she's like, you trashed the study. And Tamlin goes, I trashed half the house, he said, leaning forward to press his brow to mine. He took you away. He stole you. And maybe it's the way that I'm reading that, but Tamlin, like, you threw a tantrum. Some bro comes in and literally takes your girl on your wedding day as she's walking down the aisle, and you're like, I'm gonna trash the half the house, and then do nothing. And then he's just chilling in the study making plans with his homies. Insanity. I don't care for this man. Don't care for him at all. It's so sad hearing about how Moore got here, and as we're going through this book, we're really getting the traumatic backstories that are just, it's a lot, but it's like weird and uncomfortable the way Rise and Feyre are acting, but also got me so giddy, and I need this slow burn to end. I'm fucking so excited. So Feyre just found out that she's Rise's mate, and honestly her response is fair enough, and I'm glad she's growing a pair.
Hi guys, sorry, I feel like I'm not in the middle. Is that good? Okay, so I am back. I just finished, like, just as in minutes ago, the second book in ACOTAR, in the ACOTAR series, which is A Court of Mist and Fury. And I think I said going into this that I'd heard a lot of people saying that this was their favorite book, and I totally get why now, knowing now that this is a romantasy much more than it is a fantasy. I completely understand the hype around this book, the love for this book. This one might end up being my favorite too. I definitely liked this one better than the first book. So when I tell you that I read this in one day, I mean I read this in one day. And yeah, the spice in this book was spicing. If you're somebody that doesn't like a lot of spice, then this book and this series is not for you. Which, again, if you're somebody that has steered clear of this series and not read any spoilers or even just like plot really, then that's something you probably don't know. And I will say, fair warning, because the spice was spicing for sure. However, I was so happy when we learned that old Tam Tam was not the love interest, because I did not care for this man. And throughout the beginning of this book, there were so many just like toxic things that were insane, that had my jaw dropping that he would do and say these things. And the way Feyre was acting around him, I was like scared that he was going to be the main guy, and it was going to be like this weird toxic relationship where he's just like this jerk basically. So I was very, very happy when it ended up that he's not the love interest, or at least by the end of this book he's not the love interest. I'm really hoping he does not come back. Yeah, I didn't like him all throughout book 1. I don't like him all throughout book 2. I'm guessing that's not going to change, so I was very, very happy that the guy who, oh my god, Rysand, I think that I have heard people call him Reese, I think, but I don't know if that was this book. It's like R-Y-S, I think, and so like to me, like that's Reese, I don't know. I've called him something different every single time, and I do apologize if this is like your favorite series, your favorite book, your favorite character. You're gonna be so annoyed at my pronunciation of probably everyone's name, so I'm so sorry. But yeah, I absolutely loved this book. I don't even think there's anything else to say. I literally finished it in a day. So far, my favorite. It's way thicker than the first one, and I finished it in like half the time, maybe even less. So yeah, big fan of that one. I am so excited to move on now. The third book is A Court of Wing and Ruin. Again, I have no idea what this one is going to be about. I am a little bit worried because of how kind of happy this one was and also how it ended. I think this one's going to come with some intensity, some heartbreak. I'm kind of hoping that we get a little bit more of the fantasy side of things. So without further ado, let's get started. And it is, what time is it? It's 10 o'clock at night right now. Do I finish this? Not finish. Do I start this right now or wait till tomorrow? You know, I'm gonna start right now. I'm gonna start right now. Let's start right now. Okay. Okay, I just have to read this little part here. It's, neither did Reese as he murmured, "My love," and kissed me. I'd soon slid my hands into his hair, then he scooped me into his arms and stood in one smooth movement. I pulled my mouth from his, glancing toward a pallid Lucian. Then Ryson said to our companions, without so much as looking at them, "Go find somewhere else to be for a while." He didn't wait to see if they obeyed. I just can't with this man. Okay, this book so far is like, I'm on page 128, and so far I'm really enjoying it. I think it's like, yeah, it's definitely good. I'm just a little worried that like it's gonna be too much like fighting and not as entertaining, but I don't know that yet. It just really seems like we're building up to like a lot of war and fighting, and I'm worried that Reese and Feyre are going to be like separate for some of that. So I'm not too sure how I'm going to feel about this book, because like the funny thing is, going into this series as a whole, I was so ready for it to be like this super high stakes fantasy, like little to no romance at all, just because people, like when they described it, or from what I'd seen when they described it, it was a fantasy that like everybody talked about, everybody loved. I've heard people like talk about Sarah J. Maas and her world building and her fantasies and how she's this great fantasy writer, and I didn't like I never saw the difference in whether they were talking about this series or her other series. But because this one is so heavy on the romance, and especially book 2, which I like was completely swooning the entire time and absolutely obsessed. So now that we are here, I'm a little bit worried that I'm not going to like the like high stakes war fighting and stuff, just because of what we got in book 2 and how heavy it was into the romance. I don't know if that makes sense, because like if it was a different book that didn't have that other stuff, then I would love like the fantasy, the war, the fighting, the high stakes, all of that stuff. But then I don't know, it's so like, I don't even think it actually makes sense. I'm just worried that I'm going to be missing the romance too much, that I'm not going to enjoy the like fighting and everything like that. So I don't know, I'm excited to see how Sarah J. Maas does it, because obviously people love every single book in this series. So I am very, very excited. Like I said, I'm on page 128. I'm gonna finish, you know, I'm probably gonna sit here and read for a while more, and then I'll come back to you with some more updates.
My mate
asked before. I hate that they call each other that. It creeps me out.
Hey guys, so I've literally been sitting here for hours. I think I was on like in around page like 100 or 150 last time I checked in. I am now on page 503. I just started chapter 55. And I just wanted to like mention this little quote here. So this is where they're hiding out in the winter court, like at some remote place, and they're waiting to like go fly in the morning for the big battle. And just the way that Sarah J. Maas writes this is they would land hopefully before it began, right as, also please forgive me throughout this entire video for the way that I pronounce names. I don't know if other people do this, but in a book, even if the names are like pretty easy to pronounce, which in this they aren't, and in a lot of fantasies they aren't, when I read it, I just like see the first letter and the vibes and then just like make up nonsense in my head and go through. So then when I have to say it out loud and actually pronounce it, I like have no idea what I'm actually gonna say. And for these, they're all weird. So anyways, let me go back. So they would land hopefully before it began, right as Kier and his commanders winnowed in the Darkbringer Legion from the Night Court, and then the slaughter would begin on either side. That was just like, I really enjoy how this book is written and how like, because we're kind of following Feyre, I'm calling it like her words, even though, yeah, like it's her words, I guess, because we're in her head kind of. But I really like how we're given like these kind of ominous, it's like obvious and simple, but a little bit ominous and exciting, just that. And then the slaughter would begin, period, on either side, period. It's just good. It's just a good book. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. War is warring. Do I sit here and finish this? It's getting late. I might not finish tonight, but I'm gonna finish soon, and I'm really, really excited. Hi guys, so I just finished the third book, A Court of Wing and Ruin, and just like with the first two, I wanted to do a real quick debrief, recap kind of thing. So this book was basically just about the war and fighting, and there was some like fun spice scenes, some character building and development, and it was basically just the war. It was a long book about the war. I will say, because the first two books seemed a lot lighter in terms of like the political content and really heavy in terms of the romance and the love, this one kind of flipped those and was completely different. And I think that normally in a fantasy series, this book would be like my favorite. Would be what I wanted, like a little bit of that romance, those characters, but mostly we're getting battle and war and intensity. However, because it was the third book with two previous that were so heavy on the romance, it felt a little bit disconnected to me, and I in turn wasn't as big of a fan as this one as I was of definitely book two, maybe book one as well. I don't know. Book one and I have some quaffs. I'm not too sure yet what my rating is going to be for that one, because I really enjoyed it and it was a great start to the series. But anyways, Kate, not what we're talking about. So I will say, if this hadn't been the third book after A Court of Mist and Fury, I think I would have enjoyed this a lot more than I did. But because it felt pretty disconnected, to me at least, like I do understand that it was the continuation of the story and it was necessary, but it just felt so heavy on the violence, and it felt so out of place in comparison to the first and second book. I don't know if that like actually makes sense and if anybody kind of felt that way as well, or if they just thought it was a great way to continue the story, because it was kind of that too. So I'm like weirdly like up and down about it. I don't really know, which again is why I'm not rating these yet, because I really want to finish the series and like sit on it. But I will say it was still incredibly enjoyable. I loved the scenes that we got with Rhys and Feyre. I've decided at this point to start calling him Rhys. I don't know if that's right. I also don't know if Feyre is right. I think it is though. That makes the most sense to me. Rhys is a little weird still in my head. I can't make it make sense. Anyways, I loved the things we got with them. I loved the little bits that we got with the other characters in this as well. The inclusion of her sisters in this book, of Feyre's sisters in this book, as well as we got more development with the other Night Court people. Even little Tam came back a little bit in this one, although still not a fan because of obviously who he is as a person. But yeah, very enjoyable. I'm interested to see what the novella is going to be now. Yeah, it's called A Court of Frost and Starlight. This book seemed to end in quite a like nice way, kind of, and so I really don't know what this is going to be. Like, if this series was just a trilogy with this being the final, I think that would have made like total sense. So I am interested to see what the novella is going to be, and then of course what this fifth and final book that's so thick is going to possibly be. But this one took me longer to read because of the heavy content and just like the pages of war and violence. It was not as page turnery as the second book for me. So I think that to kind of speed up this process, because I want to finish this, I want to finish these books, I'm excited. I'm going to try to just sit down and read this tonight maybe. So let's do that quick, and then maybe I'll be back with a recap of this one.
It's tripping me out that Feyre and Rhys are like their POVs are in first person, then everyone else's is in third, and I don't know, it's just weird and uncomfortable.
Okay, this book, like in complete honesty, I didn't think it was necessary. I thought it was like 200 pages that I didn't need. I think that if this had been like a 5-star series for me that I was absolutely obsessed with and just eating up every single character and wanted to know more and dive into the world and was just like obsessing over it, then this could have been or would have been like fun to kind of see them in a different perspective. But as it was, the third book ended in a way that I thought was really good, and so I didn't feel like, I don't know, this just seemed really unnecessary and a little bit boring. It was just kind of everybody going through their life kind of after that, but in a happy way, which, you know, it was nice. It just wasn't like, I didn't need it, I didn't want it, I was bored, I would say. So I was disappointed in this. I do get though that it was just like this novella, this filler to kind of show the characters in a way that we don't really get to see them in the midst of the chaos that is the first 3 books. So I do understand why this exists. It was kind of like a really, really extended epilogue that, again, if this was my favorite book in the whole world, then I probably would have been eating this up too, to see the characters in that other light. But because they have not been my favorite books in the whole world, and so I don't feel like I need those little epilogues, those afterthoughts, those novellas. So I'm hoping that there are not going to be any more like this as the series continues, which is something I want to say too, that after I finished that, I was just kind of looking on my phone and stuff, and the gods of the internet know that I'm reading this because they're in my head, apparently. And so I did hear a little bit about this book, and that it's actually about her, I think one of Feyre's sisters is going to be what this book is about, and then there is I don't know if it's confirmed or potentially there's actually going to be more books in this series, which I did not know that at all going in. I thought they were all just going to be about, you know, one cohesive thing. So I am actually excited because, like I said, after I finished reading the third book, it very much felt like it could have been a trilogy and wrapped up kind of nicely. So I am excited to be finished with that novella and get into kind of the same world but different characters. I don't know which sister this is going to be about, and I'm not sure how I'm going to feel because I wasn't obsessed with either of them in the other books, but I'm still really, really excited. So I think I'm gonna wait, kind of have a debrief after this story and pick this up maybe in a couple of days, and then I'll be back with my debrief from this and then my recap of the series as a whole.
If you own this book, I encourage you to go to page 291 or just a bit before, and then you know why I just looked the way I just looked. I feel like I need to stop there. Oh, okay, there's only a few pages left in the chapter. Whew, that was spicy. Very spicy. A little too spicy. Maybe not. Maybe. Jeez.
Hi guys, so I just finished the final installment of the ACOTAR series, A Court of Silver Flames. So this book was indeed about a different couple. It was about Feyre's like really angry sister Nesta and her love with Cassian, who is one of the like night court warrior guard people. And this was a, like, if you thought, I don't know if you've read these, if I thought the second book was spicy, this book was spicy to the max. It maxed out the spice. I'm also somebody that doesn't really read a lot of books with a lot of spice, so it was a lot for me. And I will say, keep that in mind if you haven't read these and maybe you're considering it. This spice is spicing throughout this series and specifically in this book. But this was kind of a fun book because we still got to see the other characters still in the same world, same timeline, but we just got a new perspective, and that was Nesta and Cassian as they kind of fall in love. And then it also kind of continuing on with the fantasy and the high stakes. It was about who are they? They're like the human queens people that we saw in the other, I think they came in maybe the second, but we're definitely in the third, and they're kind of here to wreak havoc, and there's like a new war brewing because of that. And so Cassian and Nesta kind of step up because of their positions. She's now like high fae, fancy schmancy, which we did see after the, oh my gosh, what was it? Like the cauldron with that guy. I don't even remember what book that was in now. That was the second one, right? Or was that the third one? When she got into the cauldron. No, I think it was the end of the second one. Okay, anyways, doesn't matter. So she's high fae now, and then Cassian, of course, is like the big, bad, handsome warrior. And I really enjoyed this book. I think I liked this one. I was gonna say better than the third, but then I don't actually know. Yeah, I think I did like this one better than the third. Again, if I was like absolutely obsessed with this series and this world and Feyre and Rhys and stuff, then this I would have been so happy to have like a new couple to obsess over and more books and everything. But because I enjoyed this series, do not get me wrong, I found it really, really enjoyable. It was page turner, it was exciting. I would have been so happy if this was just a trilogy with the first 3 books though. However, it wasn't, so we had to persevere through the novella, which the more I think about this novella, the more I dislike it. But I am happy that this book existed. Yeah, it was just like good fun. It was fun to continue. I hope that as we go through, if there are more books, that they stay like kind of true to the characters and they don't change too much and make it too repetitive as well. It's like when you continue on a series like this, it's such like a fine line of making the story make sense without just being like dramatic for no reason and repetitive, but also without changing the characters too much in ways that don't make sense. So I'm a little bit nervous, but very, very excited, and I need to look up when and if more books are actually coming out, because I will definitely be continuing. So now that I have finished every single book in the ACOTAR series, I'm going to go through and just give a quick rating for every single book. So I'm just going to start and say that the series as a whole that is completed right now, which is the 5 books, I gave a 3.75. This is a series that I was like not expecting it to be what it was. Although going in, I didn't have any expectations, but I also didn't expect it to be what it was, and what it was really, really enjoyable. 3.75 is, I think, the perfect rating, and that is a really, really good rating in my opinion. I would recommend this to anybody that enjoys fantasy or romance. It's a great like starting series as well if you're not big into fantasy. So absolutely loved this series, but let's go book by book. So we will start with the first one, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I gave this a 3 stars. I thought it was an excellent way to start the series. Like I said, that very first scene of Feyre killing the wolf, I thought was just like the perfect way to hook you in, as well as having the trials at the end was just such a like perfect fantasy trope. There were some things that I didn't like about this book though. It was a lot heavier on the romance than I thought. I also just didn't like Feyre in this book, and I really didn't like Tamlin in this book, so it was hard to root for them, and I think there were some things that the author Sarah J. Maas could have included that would have just made it easier to root for Feyre specifically. So with that, I gave it a 3 stars. Next we have A Court of Mist and Fury. This was my favorite book in this series by far. I totally understand why other people have said it is their favorite. It had me absolutely swooning. I was such a fan of Feyre in this book, which was excellent. And well, let me just say, I was a big fan of Feyre and Rhys together, and that was Feyre probably at like the halfway point or so. I started to really like her more. At the beginning, she was still kind of annoying. Let me also just say more. At the very beginning, when she was with Tamlin still, I felt really bad for her. And then when she went to Rhys's, she was kind of annoying. And then when she decided to stay at Rhys's, I started to like her. So it was a nice little rounded moment for Feyre and I from book 1 to the end of book 2. I gave this one a 4 stars. And then we have the third book, A Court of Wing and Ruin. This one I wasn't sure about when I first read it, when I was doing the recaps too, because it was so heavy on the war and the romance kind of took a back seat, which again, as I mentioned, is something that I was expecting it to be a high stakes fantasy with very little romance going in. But then after I got so used to it in the first and specifically the second book, I was a little bit taken aback when it was such a like back burner, back of the mind thing. So I didn't love this one at first. However, after sitting on it and thinking about it, I did really enjoy this even more than the first one. I gave it a 3.5 stars. And then we have the little novella, which I had some issues with right as I was reading it. And after sitting on this one as well, I decided really not for me. I thought it was so unnecessary. I'm gonna give this one only a 2 stars. Not that it was written poorly or anything like that. I just didn't think the content was something I needed to see or read or know about in order to love the books and the characters. And then the 5th and final book, A Court of Silver Flames. I loved this one too. It was just like the third one. I wasn't sure as I was reading it. It was also so incredibly spicy. Again, please do keep that in mind. The spice was spicing. But I did give this one a 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it sat really on par with the third book as well. So good. And I'm very excited to read more about Cassian and Nesta. So yeah, overall, this is a 3.75 star series for me. I would highly recommend. I'm so glad that I took the time to sit down and read this entire series. I finished the series in about 7.5, 8 days, and it was a lot of reading. It was a lot of intensity. It was a lot of spice, and I am so glad that I did it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments down below if you have read these books, what your thoughts and opinions are, if you agree or disagree on my perspective on each book and the series as a whole. And if you haven't read these books and you're watching this full spoiler vlog, is it because you never intend to? Or now that I have read them, are you like, maybe I will? Let me know, because I love knowing what books you guys are reading and what your thoughts and opinions are on them, especially when it's books that I've read. I love a little bit of discourse, so please let me know. I will reply to the comments when and if I can. And I am so glad that I actually finished this series and so soon. It was definitely a big old check off of my bucket list, and I am very excited to take a breath, watch some TV for a little bit, and then get started on my next video, which, little sneak peek, I have been doing some reading over the last month. For the next one, we're doing another reading every book, but this time by an author, and we're keeping it old school TikTok again. So if you see this video before my next video like this one comes out in the next couple of weeks, I want you to also guess in the comments below what author you think I'm going to be reading every single book of next. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys!